Bia, where you at? Where you at? Bia.
That's me.
Bia.
That's me.
Bia.
Yeah, that's me. What's up, Bia Gang, and welcome to Zakia Chanel Podcast. This isn't just a regular podcast. It's a place where we can let down our guards and be our authentic selves. So let's talk about it. The real, the tough, and the funny conversations. At the end of each episode, I want you to walk away feeling better than you did at the start. All right, enough of me talking. Breathe in, breathe out. Now let's get into the episode. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Zakia Chanel Podcast, your favorite Detroit podcaster, Bia in the gang. Hey. So, turn up, it's another episode. I'm excited that you all are joining me. Welcome to the new listeners, watchers. Make sure that you share with everybody around you. Let's keep running these numbers up because we're going pretty good. So, today I have some guests with us. So right here to my right is Hannah Banana. She's back again. She made a debut of 2 times now. And to my left, I have my also friend Ebony. I call her Eb. Yes, first time. They come back again. We'll see. Stay tuned. So today, before we get our episode started, I want to start with praise break. So I can start off. Let's think. So my praise break for this week, I would say I had a great birthday. Like, this is my first podcast episode since my birthday, so thanking God for 27 years of life, and I had a great time. Yes. So if you want to look at the photos, you can go follow me on my page and you'll see. But yeah, so that is my praise break. Who want to go next?
I'll go.
Okay.
So my praise break is, I would say, have to do with guidance and instruction, because the other day I had a dream about needing to plant beans and flowers together.
Okay.
I never thought about that. So just like different, like a whole variety of flowers and beans just in the same area. I was like, okay, all right, this is, and I know the area, so I'm like, all right, this is something I never thought about, but thank you, Lord. Like, now I know what to do. Yes.
I would say,
Clarity.
Yeah.
Right. I would put 2 and 2
something that you would never thought about.
Yeah.
What about you?
My praise break for the week, I would say, I don't know, life's been good. Life's been really good. I feel like I'm at peace, very much in my peace stage, and I'm grateful for it, because life can be chaotic, but I'm at peace with it. I'm at peace.
So I love
Shout out to that.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Love it, y'all. All right. So our new little thing that we've been doing for, I think, this is the 3rd episode. Our meme for the week, which is the Oh My Star segment. So for this week, the meme is, so the first part shows for the girl in a growing season. Then you swipe over. The next part says, before God elevates you, He is going to show you everybody's heart around you. So you will know who to take with you into love from a distance once you have entered your promised land. Elevation has always required separation and always will. Know that everybody can't go. So I just thought that was cool. I kind of just took a screenshot of it because I guess a lot of people always say how everybody's for a season, a reason,
Right.
but you never connected to not just you elevating, but God taking you to your actual promised
Very
land.
true.
I don't think we
Very
even use
true.
that word a lot. So I thought that was another perspective for me to think about, and knowing that even if somebody's not in that season with me, I can still love them from a distance. It's not just all cut ties.
Right. Right.
So
I love that.
Thank you. Thank you
That's
for
a good
that.
yeah,
That's a
of
good one.
course. So this episode is a little bit different. It took me actually a minute, y'all, to actually say I wanted to do this episode.
Okay.
So I've written this out for some months now.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
It's been a minute, and I was just kind of being a little bit selfish, just because even though I know with my podcast, like, people are getting an insight into my life, I still try to keep, like, boundaries. Like, I just don't want people to know all my business.
That's for sure.
And so
I get that.
I, for the longest, was just like, I don't want to share everything with everybody and them know everything about me. But I also thought it was important because, like, these past few episodes, I've really been taking a leap of showing just, like, my faith in God, my relationship with Him, and being just, like, authentic with it. And I was like, well, how can I share, like, these updates of what's happening in my life right now if I can't even tell people, like, where I started from?
That's
like,
true.
what got
That's
me
true.
here.
That's true.
So I thought about y'all, like, as I was writing it. God didn't picture people, like, in my head yet, but I knew that guest was going to be on this episode. So I had to do a lot of prayers to ask God, like, exactly who to bring on. And I just thought, so, like, He brought y'all to the forefront, but afterwards it made sense because, like, we all have, like, big different stories, you know, and I don't know, like, our full story with, like, our relationship with God or, like, where it started from, but I know little points of it, and I was just like, we all started somewhat a little different, and we're all in different, like, age range as far as our ages, like, we're all in different little parts, so I thought it would be dope for us to be able to, like, share with the audience, like, the Bia Gang.
I like that. I like that. Okay.
The Bia Gang. Yes, girl.
For us.
So, I wanted to just talk about, like, us finding our way to God, and my first question is just, like, how did you meet God? Like, how did you know, like, of God? Like, what was the first thing, or, like, the first person that connected you to God, or the first place you went to, or anything like that?
Okay. I could go. Because mine is easier, I'm going to say. It's really easy. It was my mom. My mom is my prayer warrior. I mean, 10 toes down, prayer warrior. If anything happens good, bad in life, she's always going to pray about it. So prayer was my first introduction to Christianity. It wasn't actually knowing God. Yeah. So just hearing her pray over me as a baby to then, like, as a toddler. And I'm like, what is this lady doing, closing her eyes and bowing her head? Like, what is she doing for real? Like, is she meditating? But it was the beauty of prayer. So I think that really got me into, okay, like, there is a religion. There is someone I could believe in, which is God, that I could go to in prayer and, like, put all my things on Him, and He'll really return the favor. He'll return the blessings to me. So that was my, like, introduction.
Can't
lie. Yeah.
Thank you, Mama.
Yeah,
No,
for real.
Yeah.
And, like, to this day, she's continued to instill in me, prayer is everything. You have to pray about it. Nothing else you could do, but you got to pray about it.
I think that's a nice, like, way to even introduce you as, like, a kid, because, you know, like, I think sometimes, like, parents, they throw so much of, like, the religion part on a child, and they, you know, a kid don't really understand anyway until they get older. So, like, seeing, oh, like, this is the demonstration of what my mom or my parents are doing, now I can connect it to, like, this religion.
Exactly. It was dope. It was really dope.
Definitely lead by example.
For
Like,
sure.
legit, like, you seeing your mother do that, it's like, and even, like, now, like, would you say you follow her footsteps in regards to prayer?
Pretty
Like,
much,
she just can tell you, you know, because people always say, don't say, do as I say, don't do as I do, right? But your mother, she did, and you saw that.
And continuously, she was consistent. That's really brought me to, like, where I'm now, praying, for real.
Yeah. What about you, Ed?
So, I would say one of, like, my first memories, y'all, was being in a wooden pew at a church, drawing, like, coloring in Jesus.
Wow.
And like, and I remember, like, it wasn't, church wasn't going on. I just remember, like, some people at the front. I felt like I was wearing something pink at the time. And so I had to have been under 4.
Oh, wow.
Because we were still in Toledo, Ohio. And so, because we moved to East Lansing, like, at the end of, you know, when I was, like, at the end of my 3 years, 3 years of age. And so that's some of my first memories was just being in the church. And so, like, my parents just made a point just to teach about Jesus, even in regards to Christmas, y'all. Like,
Wow.
I remember, Christmas Eve, and then we made a cake. We made a birthday cake for Jesus, and I remember we had tacos. And I remember it, and I might have been 4 at the time. Like, we and 5, like, it just stayed a tradition where we was like, so even like we broke that tradition for many years. But once I got older, I was like, we need to bring that back.
Seriously,
Yeah. So every year I'm like, are we baking a cake for Jesus? Like, let's not play. We're gonna sing you. Like last year, I had like little banners. It said happy birthday. Some little balloons. Like, listen, like so. I definitely would say like it's because I grew up like in a Christian home, and just like took going to church serious, and but then stressed through having a relationship with God.
That's good.
But the loving and kindness part, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, it just so seeing that as well as like I remember like hearing my mother sing in the middle of the night, like I'd be sleeping, all of a sudden I hear my mom singing like just songs and worshiping God.
Wow.
And like 5 o'clock in the morning, my mother like speaking in tongues, walking through the hallways. And growing up, even like my parents only let us listen to gospel and jazz.
Okay.
So it was I would definitely say just like that foundation was created early on.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, well, mine is totally different.
Okay. All right.
So, like, mine was not at the house at all. So, like, my first interaction or just learning, like, who God is or just knowing about, like, a religion is when I used to go, like, down south for, like, visiting our family or family reunions or anything. So, my family there, they're very, very heavy and, like, believing in God and going to church every Sunday, everything in that nature. So, like, when I would go down there, that would be the first thing, like, oh, we going to church, or, oh, like, what y'all doing? We about to go to church for choir rehearsal, or I got to go do this event. So, like, that was my first thing of, like, oh, like, okay, what's this church? And, oh, like, people go there more than just on a Sunday. Right. And so I was still young, so I didn't know about, like, everything, but it was still, like, that was my first reaction of, like, oh, okay, like, this is something that you all do down here, and it made me, like, interested to know, like, what is this, you know?
Ain't nothing like them Southern Christians,
Come on now.
Yeah,
nothing like them Southern Christians.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
They don't play.
Really devout, for real.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, with, like, finding out a little bit about God, like, so did y'all grow up in church, or did you not grow up in church? Did you go to church? Did you not go to church? Like, how was that?
We went to church.
Okay.
We went to church.
We went to church.
We went to church. And I can say, like, my mother, like, when I was a kid, she was in medical school. And, so even through her, we still went to church. We traveled an hour. We traveled from East Lansing to Southfield, Michigan to go to church. To the point where we had a minivan, right? So my mama used to have the crock pot at the top of the church. And so while everything is going, like, she's cooking our dinner in the crock pot while church is going on.
I know that's right.
She got
to travel back.
Yeah, so she got 3 kids and a husband, right? And so she like, all right, dinner's gonna be done by the time church is over. Like, I remember we was tearing up them chicken wings in the back of the church. But I'm serious. But like, so definitely like growing up in the church, even to the point where, like, when we got older, the church we went to, my mother was like, okay, they don't have a children's ministry that can really feed into my children. It's at least we want to, okay, they're sitting and listening to Bishop, do her thing, but it's like, yeah, what is that doing for the kids? Like, it's not doing much. Yeah. So to the point where she had visited some churches, it was like, okay, they have a great children's ministry. And so she would, like, go to she would be in the 8 o'clock service, for us, and we would go there. So we had, like, the Sunday school, children's church and all that. And I would definitely say that's where my personal relationship with God started. Where it was like, not like, okay, I have a relationship with God, through my parents.
Yeah.
No, it was like, oh, I have a relationship with God. And, like, we're like, but I remember one time, y'all, they were like, do you all hold grudges? And they, they make it fun with games. And I'm like, what's a grudge? And so just even, like, teaching you certain things, like, all right, how to live holy. Right. Like, just pertaining to, like, your everyday life, okay, like, what's the rapture? You know, like, so you're learning these things. Like, okay, like, how do I receive, you know, the Holy Spirit, you know, certain gifts. Like, it was just all that. And you were in fellowship with other children.
Yes.
And that's what was important. Like, it was a bunch of kids too, y'all. But like, we were there, like, definitely up until I was, I guess, 18, until I went to college. But then after that, I went back to my old church, and sometimes I still visited but then as an adult, I was able to fully interpret the word. Mm-hmm. So when my bishop, like, when she said it, I was like, dang, you know what I'm saying? So where, like, I understood and I can apply it, you know, but I had that foundation at that point.
Right.
So I would say it was.
So, I was at children's church, like, in children's youth choir, like, seeing my mom even involved in the church. We had soup kitchens. I volunteered as, like, a little kid. I was involved. But again, my personal relationship with God was not there like it is now. Because I didn't understand that then. I mean, children's church, they teach you the basics. Like, what are the books of the Bible? How many disciples? Like, but they're not teaching you as much as the word as you can understand nowadays. Because you're a kid. You're not going to understand it for yourself. They have to relate it to something. So I think that was, like, the start of it. And then I grew up in the church. Like I said, I still go to that church to this day. So that was the foundation that then led me to want to continue. Elementary school happened, middle school happened, high school happened. I was still attending. But I would say it actually took me a minute to really, like, tap in with God, for real. Like, on a personal level. Because sometimes when you're at a church that you grew up at, it's forced upon you. Mm-hmm. And they don't give you the leeway to say, okay, let me let you get the relationship. Then you can come to me and ask the questions. It was like, no, you're going to have a relationship. If you don't, something wrong with you. And I didn't feel the sense of openness that I could find that relationship for myself versus everybody else is telling me I have to. So it probably really didn't happen till middle school. Genuinely till middle school. Like, going to church is different than understanding what church is and what you're actually hearing at church. That was middle school for me. Like, especially going to Cornerstone too. Like, we went to a Christian school, so it helps to have foundation from many places. Like I said, my mom was still my prayer warrior. She was still talking about God around the house, and my dad too. But that personal relationship, probably not till like 6th grade, I would say. Mind you, have been baptized before, because that's what they do when you're a kid. They baptize you, not knowing you really don't understand even what that is. So, like, looking back on it, sometimes I'd be saying, like, oh, I wish I could go back and, like, do it again. I could still rededicate myself to Christ. Like, I get that. But as a kid, I wish that I had more say in the start of my relationship with God. Like, I feel like everybody else was putting it on me to have one, but they also weren't giving me the space to have one to find it. So,
what do you think that would have looked like?
I think it would have looked like probably me stepping out of the church that I went to, because the church that I go to is also surrounded with people that I call my god mom, my god dad, my aunties and uncles. So it's like family. You know, but sometimes you need to step away from family to really get what you need from people who are not your family, because then you can hear them a little clearer. You can hear what they're saying. I was involved in other things, like we did speech competitions. I was involved in that, but that didn't happen until middle school. Like, if I had been introduced to stuff like that, or seeing other kids who are not my little cousins that we call cousins, really a cousin, like, not seeing them in it, but seeing like a totally different viewpoint of people I didn't know, I think it would have been a little different. Probably a little earlier. Can't lie. Probably a little earlier. Because then it would have tapped in my head, like, this is not just something my family does. This is something other people do too. I can form that relationship for myself to then be like the family, like they have the relationship. Yeah.
I feel like mine connect to what you just said. You wish yours was. So like, for me, I didn't grow up in church. Like I said, if I wasn't down south, like, can't recall when me and my family like went to church. No, my mom was like, she didn't do the whole, you know how people only go to church on Easter? Yeah. Like she feel like that's like that's kind of being fake, because why would you only go to church on Easter? Yeah. Like, that's not showing anything. That's just saying, oh, kids, like, dress up, go to Easter like service, and this is it. You know,
it's an event. It's
it's
not
an event. It's not doing anything.
Yeah.
So I always knew like my parents believed in God and everything because like I would see them with their Bibles. I would see like my mom, she had like her devotion and everything. So it was like little things around the house that would show like, okay, they believe in God, but nothing where it was like we were actually going somewhere or anything like that. But I think like middle school time is when I actually started like having not just a personal relationship, but started to like understand who God was. Because that was the time where my dad like took a leap in his faith.
Okay.
And so he started making a change where he was like, okay, we're going to church on Sunday. Like, he knew the pastor, he knew the first lady from like outside things that they did together. And so he was like, we're going to church. Like, this is what we're going to do. But prior to that, my aunt and them also had a church. And we went there, and I ain't gonna lie, that low-key scared me of church because it was like the church where everybody's falling out.
Okay.
As soon as God said, as soon as like the pastor say, hi everybody, do, oh, hallelujah, praise God.
That could be
Like, you
intimidating.
know what I'm saying? And I'm a little kid, like elementary, and so like people's falling out left and right in the aisle, and I'm like, I told my dad, I was like, I don't want to come back here. Like, what is this? So like we had stopped going for a while, and so when we went to this church, we started going to Bible study. Then he got baptized, and so like I was almost the only child in the house by that time because like my sister was older, my brother was already gone, and so like I would go to like the Bible classes with him and everything after he got baptized, and so I started like, oh, like okay, like I'm understanding it. Now I got this image of like my dad and his journey and how he took this leap of faith and just seeing like this is a personal thing that you got to do for you. Like I can't force this upon you.
Exactly.
But I'm a, guide you or hold your hand. And so like that was my first time of understanding like who God is, or just understanding of church and like being able to go to a church and understanding like church family and everything like that. So it's like I'm thankful, even though I wish that I grew up because it's like stories that other people say, I'm like, oh, I got that story. But, I'm happy that it was that middle school age. And then also, like you said, we went to a Christian school. So the times where we weren't at, like, I didn't go to church yet, like I was starting to just see, oh, there's different type of ways that people believe in God or different beliefs of what they believe. Like, some people, hey, we're not wearing pants. I only wear skirts. Like, so like we used to be trying to figure out, well, why this one student, all she wears skirts? Or like, why our coach only wears skirts? Like, it was certain things that you just did not understand. You're like, what? Like, but they're like, this is a part of my faith. And you're like, oh, but everybody don't do this. But we all believe in God, right? Like, so it was just understanding like those things before I even was able to start going to church. It was just like little stuff like that at school or going to chapel and being like, oh, okay, like I can pray, or I got people around me who believe in God. But yeah, so it goes into my next question of just like what we started to touch about a little bit is just like our personal relationship or like when it clicked to you, because for me it was like that middle school age range, like where my dad was just going to church, but also there was a lot of things like for me going on in my personal life. Like my best friend, her mom had just passed away. That was the first time like I've ever heard of someone passing away, and just seeing like, oh wow, like what this does to somebody. And so like, we prayed together, and it was like, oh, like me and my best friend is like praying together, like okay. But really, I think what kind of shifted was that 7th grade year. I would say, was it 7th grade? It was 7th grade where my best friend, like she had a lot going on in her life at home, and y'all, one day like I was on the phone with her. And she kept saying, like, when you're young, you don't understand what people are saying. She just kept saying, like, I'm tired of this. I'm like, huh? Like, it's going to be okay, best friend. Like, twin, we good. Yeah. And, like, next morning, I wake up, and my parents, like, hey, we got to tell you about blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? So she's in a hospital right now. She took a lot of pills last night. And, like, she was, like, overdosed, like basically to the point where like she could have passed away if they didn't like if her parents didn't see her like get home in time, like because of she's this tiny and so many pills in your body. So like when that happened, I think that it shifted like my whole like mindset of like, oh, like it really don't even matter about age at this point. Like God, like I'm coming to you like, thank you for saving my friend. But like God, like now I see what you can do. Like it's outside of our stuff. It's really in your hands. So I think like that's when it hit me like my personal relationship where I was like, okay, this is for me, or I'm understanding like this is my journey. Yeah. But yeah, so like what was that? Like was it a story or a thing that was like, you know, that hit you where it was like, okay, this is my first step into my relationship with God for me, outside of my parents or my family or my church family telling me what I gotta do?
I don't know if I have like, I think it might have just been in like a larger period of time. Like I'm thinking, I a couple memories come to mind, and one being, I don't know if y'all familiar with Battle Cry.
Yeah.
You are? Okay, so Battle Cry pretty much, I don't know what to call it, but they had an event at Ford Field. And I remember like, I was so mad because I thought we would just hop on the car going someplace to drop some off. So I'm in the car with like
a bamboo.
I mean, I know. So this really this is the thing. Like I didn't put no deodorant on. I'm thinking it was like here going to the crib. So I wasn't even like properly, you know, together.
Right.
So, but my mama being my mama.
She said hop in his car.
Okay. Man, so we there now. I'm thinking I think she was talking to like some of the youth leaders of the church. I'm like, oh, maybe we should chat it up with them. And she's like, all right, it's time for y'all to get out. I'm like, get out? She was like, yeah, they said that y'all can go with the other kids. And I'm like, where are we at? What are we doing? Like, I'm confused. And she's like, no, it's good. Y'all can go. So my parents dropped me up, my brother and I off. And we're like, okay, what's going on? Right. And we're waiting in line. We're going inside like herding cattle. We're like, okay. And when we get there, you see all these other youth, right? And we're in the stands, and people are praying, and then people are worshiping. So it's like bands, and they just like playing gospel music, and then you got all like a sea of kids worshiping and praising God. Like, and I think it hit different because like it's a mass of people. You know, like it's not like, oh yeah, it's 30 of us, or it's 20 or it's 5. Like this is a mass of kids praising and worshiping God.
That's powerful.
And like just being able to connect, you know, like where it didn't feel like I was like in this silo. It was like Lord, you are with us. So I would say that, and I was mad at y'all because I felt like I was musty. I was like, I know. I want to lift my hand up too high. I was like, I'm saying, you know, you you're sitting there like, I hope they don't smell it. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. So serious, y'all. Serious. I was like,
your mama said, God said, come as you are.
Come as you are. And you are okay. But so I definitely would say then, and I'm thinking about like, I don't know, because I know when we started, like when I said before, my mom like, all right, y'all go to this children's church. Like I was like around like, I think like maybe like 10, 11. But I remember we had Pastor Mike, and this one I thought, oh, I'm older, I'm graduating.
Pastor Mike?
No, sorry. That's just
I'm like, hold on, wait. I'm like, that's young.
That's his name. I was at Family Victory. And so like I think when she turned, I forget what age, because first we were down in like children's church with the kids, and then when she turned a certain age, then like when we became a teenager, then you graduate, right?
Yeah.
And I remember like being there. So we used to go to Sunday school, and it was so intimate. And so like we were at it felt like we were in like one of those offices. We had like the big circular table and everything. Sit down, you feel like you're cool in your desk chair, and we legit would be talking about God, like not like oh God, no, I mean like we talking like it's for real, and then just being able to relate, like pull in pop culture and cut it up. And I say cut it up because thinking about kingdom culture versus worldly culture,
right?
And just like it was real, like Bible, so like legit Bible out. Are we flipping through? We studying the Bible, understanding like man, and he would prophesy for us sometimes, like, and I think it was like real, like where I was like, yeah, like we in it, like we born for God, you know what I'm saying? And I say those during that moment, as well as when I got my own personal Bible, my parents engraved the Bible for my siblings and I. Yeah. And so like seeing, EJCW, it's like, oh, this is my personal Bible. And then just knowing like how important, it is to just read the Bible. Right. And so I definitely would say reading the Bible for myself during that time was big. So yeah, I definitely would say that. Yeah, so those three things I can say.
Yeah, the
beginning.
That's
Real strong.
Okay. She said, I remember I had no deodorant on.
I know. I was like,
literally. It was like a trauma. I got out.
It was trauma.
Not trauma.
Because my daddy made sure, he was like, y'all not going to be ashy. Y'all not going to have no crusty lips. Y'all going to be, like, smelling good. Like, he made sure. So, when I had a deodorant on, I was like, my teaching.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no. The dad in the back of your head, like, girl,
I'll tell you.
We gotta turn back home real quick.
Real quick, be like, when he said, he was like, he used to tell my son, you smell like chicken noodle soup. And so I just be like, gotta make sure, gotta keep it together. Chicken noodle soup.
That's real.
Beyond wild. I'm traumatized, child. What?
Chicken noodle soup is crazy. I'm like, that's noodles like chicken noodle soup.
Okay. I'm like, what? Like, literally.
Like, you smell it.
Like chicken noodle soup. Woo, we must be stopped. We must be stopped.
I'll pick it up.
For real.
Okay, you got something?
Yeah, I do.
I do. Here to you.
Let's see. I think it was more of an events that happened in middle school. Like I said, grew up in the church. Like we did church things with other churches, but it wasn't like a one-on-one for me. It was like, okay, we still all the family coming to this church. I didn't really tap in for me. I got the basics, got the foundation, but not the word. To your point, like reading the Bible, like, wasn't a thing. So in middle school, my dad got really sick. I mean, beyond sick. He had a lot of underlying health conditions, but then he got cancer. And I think it also, his diagnosis was almost like a trigger for me to, okay, I can't take my anger out on anything. I can't put my worries on anything. So I should just tap in with this thing they call God. I should tap in with the thing they call Christianity to understand how I can feel that into something beautiful. And that's what I did. In middle school, I started like being very, very active in church because then I grew that personal relationship. And I needed someone to talk to, someone to like get my emotions out with. We unfortunately, Black people don't believe in therapy. So that was not an option because my parents would have had to kind of do that for me, if that makes sense. And my mom was going through more than I could even imagine because she's the wife. She's also the mother. She's also the caregiver of us all. Like, so yes, I would come to her with certain things, but I also needed to go to a higher being, and that was God. So I'm going to say it was like his health that triggered it, but it was also me realizing, and then you're in middle school, like life just happens in middle school. Like, I don't know, there'll be some hard years, real hard, like for real. Yeah. So it was like, okay, I'm going through everything that I'm going through. Like, I had the foundation, but I've never had the foundation for myself. So it was like, okay, might as well start. And then I did. So
Rest is history.
for real, the rest is history. Like, it just continued. And I think it also triggered me to want to grow the relationship, because not just like me needing somebody to talk to and somebody to put my worries on and stuff, but like, I, for myself, was not going to believe in the world's society. Like, I had no trust in people. Like, oh my goodness, no. Because people are people. They're flawed. God is not flawed. There's nothing flawed about him. There's nothing that he cannot, that he can do to me that a person can. Like, it's just not, it don't equate. And like, he would never put me in harm's way. He would never bring me danger or bring me fear and scaredness and stuff. And I had felt that in middle school with people. So it's like, yeah, I need to just step away from the people. Even my pastor, like, we had a weird relationship, very weird relationship. Like, I grew up around him. My mom loved him and things of that nature. But I also was like, how much can I trust you? Because you're still a person. Like, I get that God is bringing a message through you to us. I totally understand that. But how much is that also your human aspect, your human thoughts mixed with God to bring to us? Like, is it really the pure God and the pure word that he has for us to give to us? So it was like I was questioning stuff on top of me going through stuff. And I'm like, okay, instead of me like going through life in confusion and going through it with, I don't know who to go to, I'm just going to go to him. And I'll see how it is. And it was like a trial run. It was a trial and error, not trial run, trial and error, when it came to how much I even talked to God, how much I read my Bible, but it was the start. So that was my beginning. Yeah. Like, really getting tapped in for real. Like, life had to happen, and probably God had to do a lot of things for life to happen for me to then get there. So, but I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I really wouldn't. I really wouldn't, because that was the most vulnerable time that I needed a God, and he showed up and showed out. He did.
And I think it's like, just, you know, it happens. I think it happens more than one time.
It do.
Like, you know,
it really
and it's
do.
just based off of not just what's going on in your life, but also like the stage you're in.
Yeah.
And also like the way that he gets you is different, because like where you were in middle school, all of that was happening. He was like, okay, this is the only way I can like get to her right now, knowing that she can understand it in this aspect.
Exactly.
This is it. Whereas like now something else may happen where you're like, okay, I'm tapped in on a different level to God, because now I can hear him in a different way than I did earlier. Yeah.
And to your point, I think I was also, like, for me personally, I think I was too young when I was like in elementary and even a baby. Like, again, I was grown up in church, I was raised in church, but it's a difference from being raised in church and then like understanding church. Yeah. So I think God wanted me to still see it for myself, but have the understanding later, which I actually appreciated, because I saw some beautiful things. Like I said, my mom was my prayer warrior. Her relationship to my dad's relationship, to my aunts and uncles and my godparents, their relationship, it's still beautiful to see, because now 21-year-old Hannah can look back and say, oh, I aspired to do that. Right. But when I was young, I didn't know what was going on. It was like, what is y'all screaming for? What are you shouting for? Like, are you okay? Like, seriously though. So yeah, I think it's the stage and the time that you're in. Like, I don't think everybody's supposed to know God when they're young. Like, you're supposed to understand and have an openness to understand, but it's his timing that he wants you to really understand him and understand why he is someone that you should believe in. And if anything, put all your trust and fears and doubts on. It's your timing. It's not I'm putting you in church, now you really got to know God. Like, no, you have to find that for yourself. And it could happen when you're 50 years old, when you're 5, when you're 15. Like, yeah.
So let's talk about that. I love that you just okay, because I wanted to talk about like when you started like understanding it for yourself. So like I even wrote it down right here. You see,
Look at her.
Because okay, so the one that we all know about, like, you know, train up a child the way that he should go, and if he's old, like if he depart, he'll never, come back. And so, all right. Before we continue our conversation, make sure to follow me on all of my personal social media accounts to stay updated on what I am doing. You can follow me on Instagram at _KiaZ, _KIAAZ. You can follow me on Facebook at Kia Brewer. You can follow me on Snapchat at FabulousKia_4. Or you can follow me on TikTok as Zakia Brewer. But make sure that you follow our podcast page as well on Instagram as Zakia Chanel Podcast. Okay, so where do we leave off at? So I just wanted to talk about like our understanding of like when God hit us, because like I was saying, I think for me it was in college, like even freshman year, because like all high school I didn't do much. It was just like every day, okay, yup, you pray, yup, okay, you going to church, boom, like it just was a routine. I think high school was a routine.
Yeah.
But once I got to college and I'm basically 3 hours away from my family, I don't have no church to go to, I don't know anything up here. It was like, oh, like you for real gotta learn and understand God for yourself. Like there's nobody here to help you. Like what you gonna do now? You're not at a school where it's a Christian school where they're gonna force you to go to chapel, where they're gonna force you to do things like, what are you about to do now? And so I think like that freshman year, I used to wake up in the morning before classes and I would open up my Bible and read. And maybe even at that time, I wasn't understanding everything I was reading, but it was just like, okay, I'm putting something into action now, for myself to be like, God, I'm ready to start understanding. But it then took, okay, well, that's just the first step. Like, what are you going to do now? And it took me to really, like, open myself up to just meeting people in college that was older than me that started, starting to create their own organization where I was a part of a women's Bible study group. And then, I would go with our friends would catch the bus to go to the church that everybody was going to. So it was just, like, little things that I started to do to say, okay, like, I gotta figure out my relationship for God for me, you know. And it was like, okay, so when this person not by you, what are you gonna do on your own time? And those was the little inputs. And honestly, I thank God for placing me 3 hours away from my family, because I don't think I would have understood it if I wasn't that far away. And so it's like, okay, God, I really thank you for that, because I really had to find it out for myself, and it has helped me to even where I'm at right now. But yeah, it was definitely the people I found in school, and we're in college, so you're not going to do everything the correct way and everything. But it was just being surrounded by my peers that are the same age as me or a little bit older than me that is going through the same path in the journey. So it's just like, oh, you're not crazy, girl, because you're the only 19-year-old who wants to believe in God and pray and stuff. We're all here. We're all here. We're all going to help each other. We're all going to push each other, challenge one another. So it was those moments where I was like, okay, I love this. But,
that's nice.
Yeah. Mine was the exact, I'm not going to say exact same, but very similar. Very similar. So high school, I went to boarding school. When I was in boarding school, mind you, it was boarding school in Michigan. I wasn't far, really wasn't, but I didn't have a car. So on Sundays, it was either me watching service or listening to somebody, but I still wasn't, I don't know. It's something about going to church, y'all. It's something about being in the atmosphere and being with other people than me being by myself and listening for myself. So yes, I would read my Bible, not every day, but every other, maybe a few times a week, not consistently. When I was in high school, but on Sundays, it will be hit or miss. It really will be hit or miss if I go to church or if I don't, or if I watch a sermon or if I don't. Probably till my junior year, I'm going to say, when I got a car. Yeah, until I got a car, it kind of took away the obstacle of, okay, how you going to get there, be in person, be in the service, right? Because at my high school, they did have a church. It was not Baptist. I was raised Baptist Christian. So I'm not going to say I felt different, but I felt different going there. It's not the same level of the music and the vibe and the energy, and even seeing people that are my skin tone at church. Let's be for real. It's a factor. It is a factor. Personally, it's a factor for me. So until I got my car and I made the conscious decision to say, okay, you've been raised in this. Why give it up just because you don't have a car to go to it? I got the means now. I got the platform. I'm finna go. So I would go back to my home church. And again, it wasn't as consistent as I would have liked because you're in high school. You're in a schedule, a cycle of things. And on the weekend was like the only free time we had. So in my head, I'm not thinking, okay, your free time can consist of God.
Right.
It should consist of God. Again, it was hit or miss. So it was like, okay, I go to church maybe once a month, 2 times a month, but they wouldn't see me for a minute. And so I got to college. So I was in college during COVID, was my freshman year of college. Everything was shut down, so we had church online, which was okay for me because I'm still with y'all. We still here, locked in for real, and I listen to the sermons. But it was still not the same. After COVID, my family and I had moved to North Carolina, and my mom and I, so from where we are, we moved 3 hours away to have an apartment. That's where I went to school at. So at home, there was a church up the street. We would go there when we would go, but it still wasn't my church. And I knew it wasn't going to be my church because I wasn't going to live there long.
Mm-hmm.
So when we went 3 hours away, there was a church around the corner from our apartment. I could walk there. When I tell you, God knew I needed the convenience to seek his kingdom again, like genuinely, he worked it out so much for me. He worked it out so much because I walked to church, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Like on Sundays, I didn't drive. I walked. Like, so from having it being like 45 to an hour away, no car, no nothing, so then I could walk.
Yeah.
That's progression, and that's God right there. You can't say it's not. So that was in sophomore year of college. Yeah, sophomore year of college when we went to Greensboro. So sophomore year of college, and I went to the church, and I loved it, and I felt the energy and the vibes, and they were not Baptists. They were a non-denominational church of people that were my color, not my color, people that just are from like all works of life and all ways of life. And I think it also gave me clarity. And it's funny because I told my mom this, like that church gave me clarity on like, you don't have to be perfect. Because you have people with tattoos, as y'all can see, I'm tatted up, baby. You have people with tattoos, with ears piercings, people that have like jobs that may not be Christian related, but they had jobs, but they also had their beautiful faith with them at the job and in their life. They lived it. So that's really where like the journey began of like, okay, I can be comfortable in me and in God. He knows me. So why am I putting on a front to try to show up all cute and show up all put together just to go to church? Like, I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that. So that was like sophomore year. And then that was really where the intention was grounded for real. Because again, I'm right around the corner. So I used to walk, or me and my mom would just drive if we had something else to do after church. But I started really doing it for myself. It wasn't like, okay, we going to church. Like, it wasn't a push from my parents or a push from other family members. Like, it was for real me going to church. And then I moved back to Detroit, and right now I'm a little too involved in my church. Love them dearly, but it's like, oh, girl. But I still wouldn't trade it for the world because I feel like God knew I needed to get there. I had challenges at the beginning, but the end goal and the end outcome of it is like beautiful. Like, it's so beautiful. I love it. Like, I literally love going to church now. Like, genuinely, Sundays, prime time for me. Because I can be myself at my church. I show up not really how I want, because I still believe in, respect when you come to the church house. Okay, when you come to the house of God. But I can show up as myself, show up with my flaws, and be loved in the same way that God would love me, but also the people around me who are in God will love me. So that's where I'm at now. But I love it. Like, really, shout out to church. Like, I feel like everybody goes to church, for real. And being in person in church is so different than, like, being in, like, watching on your phone is so different. It's so different. So, yeah.
COVID was the time. I feel like COVID was crazy. But even, like, being in the church, it was, like, because that's when I started, like, really, because that's when I got back home from college. Okay. It was like soon as COVID happened. And so I was like, okay, like now I'm just getting back into like my home church and everything. Yeah, I'm about to get fully involved. And then like COVID happened, I was like, oh, psych, like I can't barely sing, y'all. And they was like, come on, like be a part of the choir. And I'm just like, sure, like 'cause I want to be involved. I'm going to be involved. Right. And then God said, this ain't your calling. He said, hold me.
Not your calling, baby.
Come on down.
Okay. Because I need her to stop somewhere. So she knows this is not your calling.
It was not for me. So I said, okay, got it.
Okay,
got
got
it.
that one.
But no, so like when they even like our pastor had reached out to like me and my sister, like, can you help with like the lives or whatever? Because like we're gonna still go live. Obviously the church is shut down, but I need somebody to get the cameras together, all of this and that.
Right.
So I was like, sure, like I just graduated with this whole like degree. I need to put it to use.
Yeah.
But like even then it was so weird, like it was like, okay, I'm in church, and although like I can't get up and be like, thank you God, because you gotta be real quiet. But it was like, dang, I feel more intimate in that spot where it was just like nobody else was around but like the pastor. So it's like I was able to very like hear him more clear of even him preaching. Then when people are around, it's like you get the energy from people. But like when it was nobody around, it's like, okay, I don't have the energy, but also like I can hear exactly what he's talking about. So it's just like, wow, like these are the different ways of like even during COVID time of like hearing God or like trying to connect with him and stuff like that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It was almost like, at least during that time, like for me, hearing him in silence. So it was a lot of that. Definitely hearing God in silence. But for me, in regards to, I would say when I started reading the Bible for myself is when I started to apply it.
Okay.
And so it was like, I definitely would say, I would say middle school. Because that's 5th grade. I would say middle school, 5th, 6th, 7th. Like, I remember one time, like, my cat died, right? My cat was transitioning. I'm sorry. No, I know, I'm serious. Like, my cat was transitioning, and like I'm watching him, like he was still like, he was like 6 months. He was like 6 months old, and like I just remember hearing like him screaming, and then us waking up, going to him in my parents' room. My mom, like he pooped. My mom was like, all right, y'all, he about to die, because my daddy did the same thing. And, he died. And then I remember just like thinking about, God gave us authority. We got power. Like, Jesus done raised Lazarus up. Like, I was like, and I got the power. I'm about to pray this cat. He about to rise, kitty. I was like, CJ about to be living. He about to be out of good. So, y'all, when I say I was in my bed praying hard, I'm crying and I'm praying. I'm like, God done said, you just need to say the size of a mustard seed. I was like,
I believe that.
I'm for real. So, yeah, I'm praying. And I'm like, in the name of Jesus, I'm praying like that this cat is going to come back to life, y'all. Now, check, I'm like, oh, he's still dead. So I even tried to the point, I was praying like, so even like, so he was having a burial, but I was just like, oh, you know what, I still believe, Lord, like maybe he's just not supposed to be, coming back to life. But seriously, so I definitely would say it was important to read the Bible and understand the stories, because then I was like, all right, Lord, like, you've given us the authority, like even thinking about, all right, if I used to touch the hem of, the hem of God, hem of Jesus, touches him, like, so I'll be healed. So even in regards to that, I'm just like, all right, Lord, like that's how I need to be like moving in that, So I would say that was like the first level. The second level was when I got to college, and at that point, like you said, like it's just you. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember before I went to college, I had got this book called 3 Battlegrounds. And I was like, all right, I gotta read 3 Battlegrounds. I didn't read that whole book, I didn't, y'all. But I wanted to prepare, because people used to always say like, all right, now people go to college.
Right.
And they leave the faith.
Yeah.
They don't believe in God no more. And I was just like, come back and write. And this is, I'm just like, Lord, it's not going to be me, because you my road dog. Like, we here. You know what I'm saying? We locked in. Yeah. I would say I did not, in the beginning, my freshman year, my Bible sat on the shelf. And I did not read it. like that. I can say that.
Mm-hmm.
That's real.
It's real. It sat there. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I still, like, me and God still was locked in.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking about my mother when she used to say, she used to study the word of God and pray before she studied.
Mm-hmm.
And so my sophomore year to, like, now, like, I would just make sure, like, I would read the Bible. So I would, I had to end up having an app on my phone. So I'm reading the Bible, taking notes, just praying to God.
Okay.
And then I would study, and so I was like, all right. And it was a period of time, like, it was serious. Like, I think during college was where it was like, I had to rely on truly the word of God and what God had already put in my heart. Because, my friends were Christian, but they weren't like, it just wasn't that. And I could say I didn't find the Christian community until I was a junior.
Wow.
And that was because I was in a co-op and my roommate was like, you never heard of Michigan Gospel Chorale? And I'm like, what the heck is that?
Mm-hmm.
And then once she, invited me to the org, there I was singing, doing hands, like sign languages, dancing, part of the praise team, all that. Then my other friend introduced me to Righteous. You never heard of Righteous? And no, well said. Righteous women. And it was a church.
Wow.
For campuses. So they had they would go to different campuses and preach. And so I was like, oh my God, like how? Like I've been here 3 years and I'm just now, because even before then, like, Catholic church. I'm not a Catholic, but I'm not, I'm not doing this. And so I definitely would say it was just that, it was like a whole level up, but and even with so it was different. So I'd say even in that, like the challenges that face, like this is like adulthood, you by yourself, like it's different challenges, and then you by yourself, like I remember one time y'all being like, God, are you even here with me? I'm walking back home, like, are you even here? Like I'm going through it, and I remember laying in the bed and then feeling God's presence. The first time I felt that warmth of knowing, like, God was like I felt the Holy Spirit just like, and I'm sitting there like to the point where like the wall is here and I'm sleeping in the back of me is like the rest of my room, and I felt it instantly, and then God was letting, and I was crying and singing, and that's when I felt it. And then all of a sudden I was terrified. I didn't want to turn around. I was like, Lord, I'm filthy back. I'm not trying to. I was just like, I'm the first thing for it. I'm just like, Lord, I am filthy rags. But yeah, it's been like how you said earlier about like different phases, and I see as tears. I guess it's maturity.
For sure.
Yeah. And new challenges. And then I feel like when you're older, you can put more intention towards it. You definitely can. And it's your personal intention. It's not yours plus your mama plus your daddy because they pushing you to be intentional. Like it's your intention.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, how are you using the tools you have?
Seriously,
like, you have those tools, and when you're faced, like you said, with new challenges, like it's not like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this tonight. It's almost like a kid was like, I'm gonna fight. I don't know. I'm gonna fight the bear in the forest. Are you like, all right? You been talking about fighting the bear in the forest
for a minute.
Once you get in the forest, but once you're in the forest, you hear like noise. Ooh, you're like, I shoot right going back. So it's it's different.
It is different.
Yeah, and even like when you was talking about, even with like having the tools, but like I realized that our not just the tools that God has like given us to grow our faith in Him, but also like the tools and like the gifts that He's poured into us to like bring people to Him, like
that's real.
And I wanted to just know more of like, when God, or when you understood, or when did you realize like, oh, this is like a gift of, God has given me to bring people closer, because so like you talk about praise dance, and so while I was going to like Cornerstone for like whole life, I was doing whole life. But like through that time, like I was doing praise dance, so like that was my way of like not just my one-on-one time with God, but like my first performance with praise dance. I was like, and seeing the audience in a way that they like connected with them, like people crying. I'm like, I'm only a little kid, like how I have this much in me to like touch you, And that's when I realized like, oh, like, okay, God has truly gave me like this gift of touching people or to connect them to God, or this might be the only way that they even hear God is through this praise dance or through this time.
Yeah.
And so, like, little by little, I started to understand and like take praise dance like serious. And that's why I continue to like even do it now. But I also realized, like, as I've gotten older, not just praise dance, but like now it's my voice and just know, like, okay, the rooms that I'm in, the things that I say, like, it's all connected. Like, God has me connected to different rooms and different places because it's like, I need your voice in there because I know that this could change somebody. And it ain't your voice, it's my voice coming through you. So just like understanding that, and yes, it's like a little scary, of course, and like very scary because you're like, hold on, like I don't want to have this much power, like God, like, and like you said, I'm filthy, I'm still learning myself, so like, whoa,
how can I help somebody else and I don't even, I'm not really
going
me
for
real.
Like, whoa, God, you can pick somebody else, come back to me, but you just understand, like, okay, like, you don't have to be perfect in doing these things, but like just knowing. So like, do y'all have a gift or something that you've realized, like, this is how I connect to people, or this is how I can get God through people, even though, like you said, that you sing in your choir and everything like that. But do y'all have something in that nature?
I guess just reflecting. I guess a two-part answer. One is I don't know, and two is I think through like leading by example, but like and through like having the connection with people. Like I said it because like I'm in a lot of spaces that aren't necessarily like faith-based, and so even me, like I touch people, right? So like I think just like me showing up in a way that represents how God wants us to be is helpful. Like it, because people have like negative, views of like what it means to be a Christian. Those who like aren't involved, right? And so by coming to a space, loving on people, hugging them, talking to them, like just like I don't know, just I would say living out principles that God, has given us. Like, hey, I need you to do this, and that. Like, the greatest command of all is to love. You know what I'm saying? Like, and even in that, sharing my story and my testimony. So like, even at work, I'm like, all right, y'all, like, I prayed and I asked God, and it happened, and I was saying to them like this, and I'm like, wow, or just like, so I would definitely say just not being ashamed of the gospel, not being ashamed of my relationship with God, and just like bringing it to all the spaces I'm in. Right. Even the spaces I've been in, one space, this girl was like, she was talking about Yvonne Orgy and Insecure, and she was like, yeah, I heard she was one of those Jesus freaks. Oh, what? Like, so I guess old girl just didn't know that I'm a Christian. Right. So she said, I was just like okay. So, but still continue to show up as myself in that space, even though I understand in that space people have other practices. True. But just like still holding it. Like my bishop used to always say, hold the standard. Like always, and it always plays in my mind. Like even when I have dreams about her, and then like she's sitting there, she's not saying anything in the dream, but almost looking at me like, what you doing? Like you hold that standard. Like what's I definitely just think it's that like just sharing with people the testimony, being an example, and just showing up the way God encourages us to show up with people who don't believe, or even people who do believe. And then even just like I say, my friend, like, hey, you want to go to church with me? I send them different worship songs, sermons. So I think it's just I'm just being open, and even if people they may not really rock with it necessarily, but just like still be open to it and still share yourself with them, your experiences, despite them. Like I have a friend, like he's an atheist. Like I mean, like it was a billboard that said God loves you, and he twisted up his face and cussed. I was like, oh shoot, and I had never seen that side. I was just like, I was like, oh okay, yeah, and I'm like, dang, but even then, like we embrace each other all the time, like So I don't know. I think so. It's still I don't know, but I definitely would say it showed up in other ways. Like I don't know if I can say like my voice. I do sing. I have been in the choir, but like. Yeah, I don't feel like, you know what I'm saying? But like with the other ones, like with being connected to people, I think that has been stronger in that sense. Yeah, I believe that, yes, just not being ashamed. Even like blasting gospel, my co-op, I had a co-op of like 53 people. And I'm like, and people knew. It was just like, I'm like, I'm blasting, but still seeing that it's like them being able to still be introduced to God in a way. So even so, like it's like my mom used to always say growing up, like like at the end of the time, like everyone will have had their chance.
True.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like even doing that. I mean, they might not walk to the church door, but I definitely still invite for certain folks to church. Like, hey, you want to go to church? Right. So I think just being that person that allows them to. I would say a conduit, I guess. Yeah.
I feel like I also have two answers. One of them was one that I already knew, which was the singing. Like I've been in the youth choir, now I'm in the praise team.
But I also did praise dance at school, but I didn't feel like the same connection as you. I felt like it was still me showing God, but I didn't see like the people aspect, like how I was making them feel and stuff. But at church, I did feel that actually with the youth. So everybody that I know and that really knows me, they say that I'm like very mature for my age. So being like young, but also being able to speak to people that are my age and younger about God, like I feel like that was the gift. And honestly, I only tapped into it very recently. As you guys know, I started a girls club at my church. And even me being as young as I am, like I'm the one that wanted to start it. Like we have older seasoned saints there that could have definitely done it, but I felt called to do it because I could relate to them. And y'all know how I talk. I talk very plainly, like very, this is how it is, direct, So they could feed off of that. And even like the other day we went over like the books of the Bible. We went over like how many parts of the Bible are there? How many books? How many disciples? What are the first 5 chapters? Like stuff like that. I find fun ways for them to learn. So I feel like I'm growing in that gift. Like the choir's still there, don't get me wrong, because I see how people react to us singing, and when we're singing songs that they can relate to, or even that they know, like famous songs, I guess you could say, that's still there. And I appreciate that gift that God has given me, but I'm tapping into a new one. So I'm going to say it's like, yes, I knew the gift was there, but I'm also finding a new one, which is so dope. It's really cool. And it's really cool because I can also make it my own. Like, I think going back to our question on like, when did you start your journey or when did you have the intention yourself? The older I got, it started, which is good for me because then I know it took me until I got older. Well, I can inform these kids while they're young. I could tell them, it started for me when I got older, but it's also because I wanted to form the relationship. For them, yes, it's me telling them like, you should form a relationship with God. But it's also for them to do it. But to be able to kind of be the younger voice in their ear to say, like, for real, you should do this. Like, for real, you'll reap so many blessings and so many benefits from it. Like, that's a gift in itself.
It is. So your story kind of reminds me of, like, so I teach at a school, and the 5th graders at the school, right, y'all? They ask a bunch of questions. That's just what they do. And sometimes, I like to, just kind of hum and do stuff like that. And so I'm kind of like grading their stuff, and I'm like humming. And one of the boys was like, "What church you go to?" And I wasn't humming like a hymn and like that. I was just humming. What church you go to? And I'm like, what? And then, so the other boy jumped in and started saying stuff. Well, I used to go to church. So he's answering the question. So he's like, right, okay. He was right, okay, right. So he's like, I used to go to church. He was like, but we don't go to church anymore. He kind of put his head down all sad. And then I was like, I said, but like, do you still pray? He's like, yes, we pray. I still don't read the Bible. He was like, well, I have my own Bible, which is kind of sits there though. So right. So and I was like, well, you still got to relationship with God. I was like, you should start reading your Bible, you know. So I think just being able to like just connect with the youth in different ways, like this other girl. Yeah, I've heard the story, but like where the tablet was acting up, you know, and she didn't want to be there. She didn't. She wanted to go to class, and I was like, even if the tablet is acting up, I'm just gonna give you work and just I'll just create it off the dome, like top of my head. I'm just gonna have a pen and paper and write different things down that you can do. Yeah, like I know what you're working on. Public pen, you're gonna do something. Okay. And so she was praying and you know asking God to not have the tablets work. And then she started praying and asking God that the other girl's tablets didn't work. And I'm just like, kids. And I mean, she like. Then the other girl was like, "Ooh, me too, me too." So they both. I'm like, so both of y'all praying that like, and I'm just like, babe. And legit, when she started praying that the other girl stuff stopped, it stopped working. Like, I was just like, okay. So then I was like, let's stop. I said, because you legit praying on your downfall. I'm just like, I said, if you're going to pray, you need to pray for something positive. Yeah. I was like, not nothing negative like this. I said, because you need to get education. I said, you're going to be here anyway. You're not going anywhere. So I grabbed that piece of paper and that pen. I started writing stuff. Wait. So all of a sudden, she praying again, right? Because she like, oh, like, please let this tablet work. And I'm not trying to use no pen and paper. So she's praying. She's like, try it out. I hit deliver, and it worked. I was like, now let this be a lesson to y'all.
No, for real.
Let this be right. I told her, I was like, let this be a lesson to y'all. I said, y'all have power, and God's giving it to y'all. Very much. Like, don't take this lightly. It's not nothing to play with. I said, so don't even say, oh, I'm stupid, because you done cast that out there. I said, don't play. I said, you see how serious it is. Yeah. And so, so this was some weeks ago. Fast forward to this past week. This, you know, I think it might have been this week. What day was that? Maybe Wednesday. And again, Wi-Fi acting up. I said, oh, we have to have another one day. She was like, I want to go back to class. I'm like, nah, listen. And she's like, wait, watch this. So she was praying and hoping again. She was praying again, hoping that it actually works. Hold on. That was outside. Yeah, I thought it was the door. You don't hear it? That's what it's called. I don't hear it. No, that's scary. I thought someone was banging. It was like. It
felt like you were getting like closer. I'm like, hold on,
like I got a little skirt.
You know,
yeah, I'm like,
you know, I think about Jefferson. You know,
I know, but I'm like, I still having the car.
That's real. I say about Jefferson.
I get up and I look through the window like, let me make sure good out here.
For real. I'm looking at this camera like, okay, is anybody gonna hear that?
Yeah, I heard it. I thought you were gonna say like hoping it didn't pick up. I thought that's why your face was like. I
thought so too, but then I'm like, all right, so, I mean, you not. I'm like, cause my nose is so.
I'm like, it's someone's car. I'm like, sorry.
It's
okay. It's okay. So yeah, like the door. I'm like, is it some eggs that I'm like? I'm like, no, legit. I'm feeling this. I'm like, I'm like,
that was wild.
No,
I was like,
okay.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. No, but yeah, so this past Wednesday she prayed and she was like, oh, it's gonna work. And so by this time we realized the Wi-Fi issue, and so she was able to connect to the hotspot. So technically it did work. So because I didn't know, because it kept doing that. I was just like, I don't know, like your tablet's not working, like it's just not. Yeah. And so she prayed and she like got on, like just troubleshooting, connected it to her personal hotspot, and it worked. I was like, she was like, see, I'm blessed. I was like, yes, you are.
I know that's right. I'm blessed.
I said, yes, you are blessed. Yes, you are blessed.
No, for real.
Yeah, exactly. I worry about it. So I think that's so. Yeah, so definitely to that point, just like I don't know, just being around the babies and just
Yeah.
And then I think when it's not like you're not their parent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I see it
So
different.
they see it differently. Yeah, and if they feel a connection to you, then they're willing to be more vulnerable and honest and open.
Yes.
Regarding just even their relationship with God or whatever, you know. So legit, the other boys we just had a whole conversation about God and church and all the other stuff. So it was awesome. That did.
That's good. And
Yeah.
like before we even go to the next part, like it's just I think it's important too, like that we hear it because like even when I feel like I was just starting to learn my relationship more with God when I was around the kids. So it's like I'm still trying to develop myself while also trying to help y'all learn who God is.
Right.
But like I didn't take it, not that I didn't take it serious, but like I didn't pay attention so much of what they used to say.
Yeah.
But now like I hear little things of like it wants to be like, hey, like, can I come to church with you? Or just little things. It's like, okay, like now I hear from a different ear, like, okay, like I need to make my intentions to try to bring you to church with me. Or when they ask me certain questions, like, okay, like this not just, oh, they just talking. Like, no, they really trying to connect and figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this is like our ending part of our podcast. So I always do like a run and tell that segment. And it's just what is something from like this whole entire conversation, like a snippet that if somebody can just click on it and all they see is this one little snippet, like what's something that you want to tell them that they can run and like go with.
Run and tell that, run and tell that, run and tell that, homeboy.
Yeah.
We dropped some gems today, so
I want to see.
Shoot, hold on.
Okay, I got mine because I'm not gonna. If I overthink it, I'm not gonna.
So like, is it like a one-liner?
It's whatever on your heart, like whatever first comes to mind, like that you want somebody to like that you can share with them, and that it be quick, like okay,
but not necessarily synthesizing the whole conversation we had.
No, just something that touched you or that you feel like was important throughout the whole conversation, even though everything was important, but like what you think.
What would you take away, or for somebody to take away from it?
Okay.
Y'all
got some?
No, go first.
Oh wait, I got
already done it before.
I can go first.
Okay.
I don't have my keyboard.
Okay. I don't have my keyboard. Okay, I can go first.
Okay.
So I would say, if something like a run and tell that I can tell someone is to first find your relationship with God for yourself. Know that your journey is different than what someone else's journey may be. And so find light in that. Find like your story because like you're an individual and no one will ever be like you. No one will ever have the exact same testimony and story as you. And so take time. Know that your relationship with God will change over the years. And so where you're at right now is not going to be like the end all, but know like that just even by next week or by tomorrow, it may change into a whole different area. And so you just always pray, always find ways to stay connected to God, even in your toughest moments or your toughest time where you feel like you may be apart from Him. Like just continue to take the baby steps because it's going to continue to help you to draw closer to Him, have faith in Him, but also for Him to grab hold of you and never let you go.
Yeah. I love that.
I do. Girl, that was serious.
I love that.
That was nice. Girl, that was rubbing it on.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what it was. I was like,
She did that.
Come on now. Just like, she then said that. Yeah. I know, dead serious.
The first thing I thought, oh, that's what I was gonna say. The first part. When they kept saying all something like, oh yes. I was like, all right, job done.
Okay.
My
sound
so real.
Thank you.
No, but yeah, I mean you did.
Okay.
That was phenomenal. So to adding to you. Okay. So now would it be adding to you?
Yeah, you can do that.
I gotta think first because you done laid it out. I'm dead serious, girl. Hold on. Shoot.
I can go. That's okay. I'll go.
Okay.
I got you. To add on to that, timing. Timing. I think, again, to your point of even the beginning of this, we are all come from different walks of life. We are all different ages in different spaces in our life. But don't compare yourself to others' timing when it comes to God. Don't let, like, oh, they're in their mid-20s and they're finding God and they really tapped in with Him, and I'm in my mid-20s and I'm not. Don't compare yourself like that.
That's true.
Because at the end of the day, it's God's timing, not yours. He has a time that He is going to take hold of you, grasp you, and get you on the journey to Him, and even learning about Him and His Word in the kingdom of God. Don't rush it. Don't rush it. Because at the end of the day, God's timing is the best timing. He is always on time. Always, always, always. Because you could be pushing something and you just may not be ready. You may need a little bit more life experience and a little bit more surrounding yourself in the people that are in God and are really believing in God and trusting Him to really understand, okay, this is where I should be. Maybe I need to use them as examples, and God's timing will say, yep, now you seeing it. You saw the example. Now I'm going to let you have free for all and say, okay, now what are you going to do to be not like them, but be along the journey as they are? So don't rush it. Don't rush it, because at the end of the day, you're going to find God. And when you do, you're going to be grateful and blessed and just benefit from the timing that you found God. So that's my
Shout out to that too.
Like the and.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yes. All right. To add to what she has said, as well as what she has said, I would definitely say, I will say, it's important to have a relationship with God, and definitely for yourself, because that way you can hide behind whomever, but where it's truly a journey with you and God, holding hands. As well as making sure you're not ashamed. And when you're in spaces, with people who may not be Christian, and so definitely just walking in the love you truly have for Christ. As well as holding the standard and not wavering from that standard. And the standard you laid out in the Bible. So just not wavering from that standard, not getting sucked in to worldly culture. And I'm with that thought, I'm thinking about what I mentioned earlier about like my bishop. It's important to still seek out the wisdom of like, of course it's God's word, right? God is using humans to get His word out, and so definitely seeking out people who are in tune with that, so we're like I would say they will assist in the process, and I say assist because it's like, I don't know, I think my personal journey has been like that, like where they're assisting in the process, where it's like, it's holding you accountable. It is. You know what I'm saying? So like sometimes when you by yourself is one thing, but like, it's like, it's like, all right now, so it's like having that mentor, right? So I would say those people like will hold you accountable. So those are the things I want to add to what these lovely women of God have already said. Period.
Thank you all for being a part of this.
Thank you.
I really, really appreciate it.
For real.
I'm so excited.
This is a good space. This is a beautiful space.
Yes. So make sure that you guys share, comment, leave a review. Make sure if you're on like YouTube to leave a comment and like it. If you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any of the other platforms, make sure you leave a review as well. And also give me like some stars so that we can get like ratings as well. Yes, but I love you all. I hope that this has touched somebody, that it's reached you, healed you, helped you in any way possible. And yeah, Kia Bia Gang will be back for another episode. Love you all. See you next time.
Bye. Peace.
Hey, don't leave me hanging. Before you leave, make sure that you subscribe to Zakia Chanel Podcast. You can listen to my podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Buzzsprout, Google Podcasts, and SoundCloud. Or you can go over to Zakia Chanel TV on YouTube to listen and watch the podcast. Looking for someone to host your event, or you want to learn how to start your own podcast, or you need organizing tips, I'm your girl. You can contact me via email. You can also reach out to me via email if you need any advice on anything at Zakia Chanel Podcast at gmail.com. Remember, it starts with you. Be blessed and take care of yourself. Great, lady.
Thank you.
So
Good. This is really good. It's so real.
this wine is so good, BT Dubs.
Oh, really? I'm excited. What's it
delicious.
called?
I've been trying to look at it everywhere. I only see it at Total Wine.
Yes, only
Like,
a Total Wine.
That's it.
I found it, and when I went to Arizona with my wine sisters, it was at a restaurant, and I took a screenshot of it.
Oh, there
Very
it is.
delicious.
You said so it's only online? Is that what you're saying?
Total
No,
Wine.
Total Wine.
Oh, that's
Total
a
Wine.
place.
Uh-huh.
Where?
Oh, girl, you haven't been to Total Wine?
I never heard of
Ooh,
Total Wine. Puts me in
Everything that you need is
We're so
there.
going to Total Wines.
Thing called, it was called Meme, but I
Yeah.
changed it to All My Stars.
Okay.
So,
Know your stars. Know your stars. Know
Right.
your stars. Okay, I have to do it. Alright, I'm here. Over here, like, what is she saying?
at first I didn't know, then I had to look at her to hear her.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, so now you know.
yes, you
Yeah.
said the second time when I looked at you, because I was like, what she said?
Oh, yeah.
All I heard was stars. I was like,
You
oh.
know? I know. Be like,
What'd you say?
I ain't say nothing.
Oh, okay. 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 That's a nice Wicked Witch of the West laugh. I like it.
Right.
Oh, that's nice, actually.
Cast me, baby.
Come on now.
Cast me. Okay, cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
Before you
start.
Yes.
Okay. So this little gust.
That's good. Wicker. This is tasty.
Tasty.
Real good.
Real good.